Did you see the Joe Rogan like AI ad that was going around?
No.
Someone made an AI generated Joe Rogan ad for some bullshit ass supplement or whatever. But it sounds just like him. It's like really impressive. And it's because obviously there's so much footage of his stuff over the years. But I was thinking that kind of freaks me out about our podcast because this is episode 126.
Yeah.
That means there's 126 episodes at least, and they're all about an hour of us talking. You could get a pretty good deep fake of me and call my nana, and she would have no idea. And that happens so fast. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It seemed like my fear was like that fear always seems so far away from reality or whatever, but now it's like, no, it's right now.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't like the AI stuff, I'll be honest.
The AI stuff at all, the voice stuff, the art stuff, or what?
I don't like any of it. I don't like AI at all.
So you think it's like the devil?
No, I don't think it's the devil. I think it's weird. I think it's just odd.
What because I agree, the AI stuff makes me a little bit uncomfortable. Because I was messing with ChatGPT and I was messing with Google Bard, the new one that's kind of a competitor, I guess. Mm-hmm. And the Google stuff felt like a toy. It felt like a very advanced form of Google. And I guess in a way, all of this is really just a natural progression of Google. There's nothing really different from what it always has been. It's just a lot better. Yeah, that one felt like a toy, but ChatGPT kind of freaked me out. That one feels a little bit like the devil to me.
Yeah.
Its ability to think is unlike something that I thought was possible.
Yeah,
with AI.
That is my fear too. It's like the Wired journalist? Like he was asking if ChatGPT like wants to be alive, and then went on this like whole explanation like how it kind of doesn't want to be alive, and I was like, now even though I know somewhere in my body that that's just like a robot just saying stuff. It's not like a person, too. I'm like, at what point is it like that's similar enough to like how a person would talk that we would just go like, well, you know what I mean?
I know what you mean. So you're saying that you see the robot too much like a person for us to see it as a robot?
I think that's for like the ChatGPT stuff. Yeah, I think for like the art one, I think there's like an ethical concern more than anything else. Like a lot of it is just like they were like, oh, we need big amounts of art, and so they just like stole art basically. Like people had spent years honing their skill, and they're like, and now a robot makes it for $0. Like it's like that's kind of mess. Like if you had a robot that bakes, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And it's just like Synovia had spent so much time learning all her recipes and stuff, and it just like did that and then just like bake millions of times faster than Synovia could. It kind of suck, you know. It's like something Synovia's put so much time into.
But then we get into the whole thing about what the best future looks like.
That's true.
And in your world, you've told me this before, and my understanding is, in your world, computers automate everything.
Yeah.
Humans don't have to do stuff.
Yeah.
I don't think that world is ever realistic, and my worldview is kind of shifting with how impressive some of this stuff is.
Okay.
I still don't think it's realistic in the end to have fully automated everything, but I understand how it could happen a lot more than I did maybe a few years ago.
Yeah. I think that I'm still on that boat. I just don't want it to be like we basically like fucked a bunch of people over to get to this point. Like if they were like, okay, we have like let's say like they used like open source art, or they paid for the art to like be in the thing. I think that's like one, or like the artists like opt into letting them use their art. That's like one thing. Mm-hmm. But it's another thing when they basically just like scraped everything on the internet, even stuff that was like behind paywalls, and they were like, we can make it now. You know what I mean? I think there's like a difference to me between those two things.
Yeah, so I agree. Like the art generation and taking credit for art that technically was created by a lot of different people and is being mushed together by a robot is different from doing that with just information.
Yeah.
Which I could see an argument saying that those are the same thing. Art and information are the same thing, but I wouldn't say that. I'm kind of on your side.
We agree on something? Let's fucking go.
Well, my whole thing, and I think this is still what people say, is that the human special thing that we all want to believe that we have, that there's something unique about humans that makes us better than animals, that makes us, it's like our reason, right? Our natural thing that we have that animals don't. It makes us feel like a robot could never be like us, or whatever.
Yeah.
But I mean, so the reason this freaked me out so much is that when ChatGPT, the initial thing came out, I demoed it and it was cool. I was not as impressed as this most recent stuff, but I asked it about home games just because that's my test, right? It's a niche thing. We're on Google. If you know what to Google for, you'll find it all. And all the information is there across YouTube videos, GitHub documents, the website, all this different kind of stuff. And so just thinking, okay, can I ask it about home games? And at the time, it didn't. It was just like home games is some online poker website, which is what it has. You know, if you Google it for years, that's what it's been the first result. We're trying to make it our thing, the first result.
Yeah.
But so I was like, okay, well, it's basically giving me Google with more description, Google with more context, and that's cool. But I don't really care. This most recent version, the ChatGPT 4 stuff, I asked, have you heard about home games, or do you know what home games is? And it gave a better description than I've ever been able to give in my entire life about home games.
Really?
And the thing is, some of it was wrong when it came to specifics, but it really freaked me out when I saw it pull together information in every little blurb, every little phrase that I think we've put out over the past 3 years about this thing, and figured out my intention with the project in such a way. Here, can you I'm gonna talk, but I'm going to read the response that both of them gave, just to show you how how impressive it was.
Mm-hmm.
So ChatGPT says, I said, have you heard of home games? ChatGPT says, yes, I have heard of home games. Home games is a platform that allows people to play games with their friends and family remotely using a web browser. It provides a way for players to connect and play games together online without the need for specialized gaming equipment or software. Home Games offers a variety of games, including card games, board games, and party games. Players can join a game session by simply clicking on a link and can then play together in real time using their web browser. Home Games is a popular platform for virtual game nights, as well as for playing games with friends who are located in different parts of the world.
That's so good.
I thought it was so fucking impressive because the number one question, obviously, with every friend and everybody who we talk about this project to, they ask for kind of a description about what it is, and I've always struggled with that. I say the most recent thing is it's a YouTube for games, but in the specifics and whatever, that thing's ability to process Google and turn it into that was so cool. And there's also a thing where you can basically give it, or it'll give you different answers to the same thing. It'll be like, oh, was that a bad answer? Here's a tweaked answer. Here's a tweaked answer. So it's kind of trying to get the right answer. So sometimes it would give incorrect information. It would be like, I forget what it was giving incorrect info about home games. Oh, it said that we had a drag and drop game engine editor.
Oh, okay.
Which we don't. I've mentioned before that it would be nice to have it, but no. So then the next question, right? The narcissism of whatever kicks in, where I'm like, well, who made it? So it's like, okay, I know. Yeah. Or no, so I asked, okay, sorry. So the first question I asked was, what's the website, right? Because I want to see if it's pulling information from where I think it's pulling from, and then it gave us the website. So it said homegames.io.
Yeah.
And then I said, who made Home Games? And it gave me a wrong name. Both Google and ChatGPT gave me the wrong name, some dude, whatever, right? Which is fine. But then I said, who is Joseph Garcia? And then it gave me a bunch of results. And then I said, I meant the Home Games guy, right? So it's like, I'm trying to link these things together. And it's like, oh, yeah, Joseph Garcia is a programmer, and he works on home games, and he's whatever, and he's whatever. And it was giving, basic surface level info, but it was all right.
Nice.
And then it also gave me some of my tweets.
No.
And it was just fucking amazing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I don't know. I used to work on a big company on an AI project, and I just thought it was bullshit. And after talking to everybody, I just thought it was bullshit.
Yeah.
And I still think for a lot of things it's bullshit. But for that thing was so cool. Real quick, also, I asked it to describe pointers to me, C pointers, one of the most complicated subjects, whatever, in C for beginners or whatever, and it did it. It's walking me through an example and telling me this is this. This thing is pointing to a memory address, which that itself holds a value, but this is just pointing. I don't know, man. It's a better Google.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool. I like that stuff though. That's cool. I'm okay with tech doing that.
Yeah. It's amazing, man. Like Stack Overflow might be kind of over. I was thinking about the era of us, maybe you didn't have, or maybe you did have this, but when I was new to programming, the idea of using Stack Overflow was kind of the in. It's like, oh, you've heard of this website. Oh, we can joke about looking things up on the website and copying and pasting from the website. But culturally, I think that'll go away in 5-10 years because a specialized board for people to post questions and answers might be there for the people who need the questions and are going to ask the questions and answer the answers, whatever. But people who want just the information, the vast majority of people who see them, it's just, I don't see Stack Overflow. I see something that scrapes it.
Yeah, that's a good question. I know that like GitHub's autopilot is kind of like that, where if you start a function, it can help you like finish the function. But it does sometimes it also messes up. Like my friend was saying that like he was asking it to make like a function that describes whether a number is even or odd, basically. And it did it by like just a switch statement, basically. It was like
If one,
case
two,
1, 2, 3, 4, and he was like, "That's not great." I don't know if they shored that up, but yeah, that was like one of the first things he tested it with. I think coding is going to be weird because it's going to be like AI supported in the future. I think like it's probably not going to be like you sit down and like write everything yourself. It'll be kind of like node packages, but like more intensive, where like an AI is basically like helping you write it out, and you're more like architecting the solution you want to get to.
But doesn't that mean that a lot fewer people will be writing code? Yeah. Which is cool. I wonder, I don't know, man. It's kind of made me rethink what I think a good economic system is. It's made me like rethink, like I'm
my side.
No, dude, because I'm so into capitalism.
Oh, all right.
I'm so into the idea, and I'm so into like provide value and into a market, and you don't live unless you work type of thing. But it seems like at a certain point, if you have this kind of invention, it's unrealistic to expect that that you need people to do the things that this thing can automate. And so I'm just trying to reconcile that with my worldview and try to mush this together into something that's, Join me. But I still don't believe in that. I don't, because the world where we all believe and we all depend on ChatGPT is like a hell nightmare. You know what I mean? It's like, if you've seen Idiocracy, it's the time machine. The time machine is you don't know it until the end of the movie, but it's a ride.
Oh yeah, the and stuff like that.
The what?
The where instead of the UN, it's like the fought the dinosaurs or whatever.
Maybe. I don't remember that stuff. I'm just thinking about the general thing of like a smart guy made the time machine a long time ago and no one knows how it works now. And it broke and no one knows how to fix it.
Oh, the actual fact that there was a time machine that doesn't work, or just a ride that is like entirely wrong information?
Well, just like the concept, because he was stringing them along with the idea that it was a time machine. He didn't tell them it was a ride. But I'm just saying the idea that there is this thing that at some point existed, we all depended on, but it was so removed from nature that like we don't know how to figure it out once it's gone. And after reading a little bit of Marcus Aurelius, like the connectedness to nature and being grounded in nature and truth is such a fundamental thing for me. You know what I mean? Well, even before that too, but like, you know what I mean? Like, it's, I don't know. It makes it's hard. It's hard to see a robot being able to replace most people.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's like one of the things we're going to have to reckon with. One of the things I thought was really interesting, I was reading, I don't remember what article I was reading or what newspaper it was from, but they're talking about like a push from AI researchers to make it so that the algorithm has to explain how it came to a certain answer.
Oh, yeah.
And that should, I think that would like help me be less, I guess like timid around the AI stuff, because if it has to explain like why it chose to give you wrong information,
yes,
for example, like then you can be like, okay, well that was obviously wrong information. You can give that to the people who wrote it and you're like, here you go, there's wrong information provided. Because what they were saying initially was that like ChatGPT, if you Google like medical symptoms, it'll give you entirely wrong stuff, but it'll say it in a way that makes it sound real, which is kind of dangerous. for people, right? So I think that would go. I think that would help at least a little bit if that was like a requirement. Like if you're going to put out an AI, it needs to be able to explain how it got a solution to the person asking for the solution.
Yeah, and I think that was a cool thing about Bard, Google Bard, is that it was posting its sources in its response. So one of the things, like, it was just like, here's a link, basically. It was just a Google link of info about what are the answers it gave me. But I guess in a perfect world, it'd be nice to say, yeah, I'm going to highlight this piece of text and I want you to tell me where you found this. But realistically, it'll be multiple sources and it'll have to kind of weight against whatever. So if 20 news sites say this is true and then 30 of them say this is false, but I trust these 20 more than I trust these 30, there's still a bias because someone is saying which one you have to trust. Like, there's always going to be some sort of weirdness, and then finding the source when it's just aggregating all of them is tough.
That's true, but I'd rather it just tell me that information than for it to just be like, here's basically like it's saying here's a solution, right? Like when you ask like what is home games, it gave you a solution to what home games is, but that's not the solution because it's also the like poker home game site. Yeah. So I think that's like my thing, but it presents it as the solution as opposed to like a solution in some ways. I don't know.
Yeah.
That stuff's super weird.
I had a conversation about this with Google Bard. If you, in case you're,
okay.
I said, it basically said, what do you think about the fact that it's hard to determine truth from a chatbot like this? And it said, just go based off of known sources and trusted sources, and all we could do is our best. And I said, well, how do you trust a trusted source? What makes a trusted source trusted? And it was like, well, it's really just about your gut feeling and their past and whatever. And I was like, well, what if a person that you trust lies? How would you know they're lying? And it was like, hey, man, you know what? Like, you're making good points. At the end of the day, make your own decisions. The earth could be flat or whatever. You know, it basically says, like, fucking figure it out. But it gave, like, a very reasonable answer to me kind of pressing it.
That's what I mean about these things.
Yeah.
It's like they communicate too humanly.
Yeah. It's impressive. I don't know. I just wanted to talk about that really quick because, well, not really quick, I guess, but I was impressed. I was impressed at that thing's description of our project, considering how niche our project is. And
that is a good description. We should put that on the website.
Yeah.
And let people know that ChatGPT came up with that.
Do you know what the legality of that stuff is? Like, can I just generate shit and use it without credit, without anything?
I know that I don't know the legality because I'm not very smart, but I do know that people were using ChatGPT to write essays in school. And then a very smart also student came up with a way of figuring out if ChatGPT wrote an essay or not.
I did see that.
Which is kind of cool. But I don't know what the legality is. I just know that people do that.
No.
I think I would feel more comfortable if we were going to copy them because that's a great description. But to just be like, ChatGPT wrote this.
Yeah.
We did.
Yeah, but then quoting a service or a learning model or it's so weird.
That's the thing is it came up with it. Technically, the algorithm that wrote it came up with it.
I don't know, man. It freaks me out. Yeah. It freaks me out in a very cool way.
I'll get you to come to my side.
I mean, yeah, I don't know. It just.
Listen, I know you remember the petite bourgeoisie. All right, I know. You're effectively a class traitor. I was too. We can turn it around.
Yeah. Anyway, did you have other stuff before? Because most of my notes here are home games. I do have one thing about Synovia and I going to Seattle over this past week. But what about life? How's life for you?
Life's been pretty good for me. I will give whoever is listening to this, I will give you advice. If you are like, I can't dance, just take a dance class. It's weird. You're going to be bad. I'm very bad, but I'm having a good time, and you probably will too. I think everyone there is there to have a good time. I haven't met anyone there who's like, you're a shit dancer. Kill yourself. You know what I mean?
Not
everyone
yet.
There's like, I'm probably not going to stick around to like the highest level where they would say that because it's like competitive. Everyone in these ones are like, I've danced once in my life. Like, I don't dance. I'm just here to learn and have a good time. It's fun.
I'll join your class just so next week I can walk in and say you're shit at dancing. Just so I could give you the experience that you're hoping for.
That's fine, dude. Yeah. Come. You and Snow should come. It should be fun. It's like a one-off class next week.
So you told us before. Okay, so you signed up for a dance class, or dance lessons, or
yeah, it was a 1 month once a week. I'll just say that.
And you said the name of the dance twice, but I keep forgetting.
Bachata.
Bachata.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's from the Dominican Republic, if I remember right.
What does that involve? Are you doing a lot of hips? You doing a lot?
Yeah,
of,
it's a lot of hips. It is a lot of hips, a lot of hands. It's a lot of if you're the guy, you're supposed to lead this dance, and I can't do that, but I'm supposed to, so I try. But yeah, it's basically it's on. I don't know. They explained a lot of it to me, and I don't remember all of it. But it's on an 8 count, so it's 4 to the left, 4 to the right is normally how you do it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a lot of like spins and holds and stuff like that you're supposed to do as a guy, and you need to know what you're doing, and you're supposed to be able to like communicate to the lady, generally, like what you want them to do just by like how you move and how you move them and like what you do. And I'm like, it's interesting. I can't do that.
Is it fast or slow? Like, is it romantic dancing, or is it more like fun dancing?
That's a good question. I don't know any other kind of dance, so I can't say for sure. I have fun doing it. You do get somewhat handsy with the people you're dancing with. Like you first lesson, they're like closed position is like hold hands and then like put your other hand like on their back. And that's like, they're like, that's the closed position. And then at some point you have to like hold their hands. It's a lot of like touching hands to hand, if that makes sense. And then some of the holds is literally like your chest to their back.
Maybe don't do it with people's wives. Maybe that's not the.
Yeah, I assume.
But it sounds.
I assume everyone there is people who do go and are a couple. Like they just dance with each other. Like they don't rotate normally. But I mean, yeah, it's like if you and Snowy wanted to come, you don't have to be like, Joseph, now touch this strange woman. Synovia, touch this strange guy.
Yeah.
It's you two can just hang out on your own. But yeah, it's fun. I like it a lot.
I'm gonna do like a Google stock image of that dance style. Put that right up here on the green screen.
It's very fun. I recommend it to anybody, especially if you're uncomfortable doing it. For whatever reason, I was very nervous. I actually, before every class, like 5 minutes before class, I get mega nervous. Like I'll be like, I've just parked, and it'll hit me that I have to go in there and dance in front of people, and I'm like instant panic.
Yeah.
But it's fun, so I just go in anyway.
So the end goal, I'm guessing, is to impress the gals, right? Like you just hit the club any night and pull out the moves.
I don't think so, because I don't think that it's changed me fundamentally into somebody who's willing to dance in public, but I think that it's given me confidence to be able to do that if I had to. But really, I don't know. I think it's just like a way of getting me to do something I don't normally do.
Yeah.
Because it's really easy to just keep doing what you do. It's very hard to be like, I'm going to try something new.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, 10 out of 10 experience. I enjoyed thoroughly.
Nice. Yeah, it's very cool that you're doing that. I'm looking forward to your progress. And you got to do a dance on the podcast at some point.
Oh Christ! Are you gonna be my follow?
Sure. If you need me to, I'll be your dance gal.
Yeah.
Now that we have all this production value, what are we gonna record? Us sitting here? No, we got to get you shaking them hips.
True. Other than that, I did have one home games thing to talk about, which was last time we were talking about like idea of batching to get around.
Oh, and your Squares stuff.
Yeah. So to just kind of like bring everyone back up to speed, Squares was running into a problem, or kind of still is, but it's running into a problem where as the levels progress, there's like increasingly more nodes that need to be moved and calculated against and like all this other stuff, and it's really starting to like grind slowly. And so last time we were talking about this idea of like a batch action, which is instead of sending like as each action occurs, sending it at that moment, and instead to like stack a bunch of actions into one and then send it off, like so that if we wanted to maintain, let's say 60 FPS 60 times per second, it would fire off this the like whatever actions took place in that time frame and sent off. I think that actually has helped with it. Basically the way I do it is I have like a virtual, like it's really like a fake tree and I just I switch it. So like I basically make all my changes in the fake tree, leave the normal tree the same, and then on tick I switch it.
Okay. Yeah. So you have a bunch of stuff. There are too many changes too frequently. If they all happen when they happen without kind of queuing them up like this, everything gets overwhelmed, goes to shit. Now that we queue it up like this and we only update 60 times a second, everything is faster, which is nice. So that just tells me that the ultimate problem is that my update logic is slow and shitty and is like we basically need a more explicit, better API for update the state of my tree. So that'll happen one day. No time soon. In the meantime, get fucked. You know what I mean?
That's fair.
Figure it out.
Yeah.
But that it makes sense. We have all these listeners and stuff, like I've said before. But basically, the earliest initial design thing with home games is probably one of the most wrong, which is every time someone sets a property, I want it to magically cause a bunch of state changes and downstream stuff and a new render and all this kind of stuff. So that whole chain and sequence is still correct, but when it happens is not. So that's one of the things I need to change. But I'm glad that it worked. I'm glad that it made your stuff faster.
Yeah, it did. I think at this point I might as well just put up PR for it because I don't think I can get it to be any faster. I want to run it at the highest level, like level 9 or whatever, and just leave it for a little bit and see if it starts to chug eventually or if it just perma stays where it's at right now. Because it was bad. Like at level 6, it basically became unplayable. So, which is great.
Nice.
But I think it's better for sure. But yeah, I just wanted to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. Another way that we could do it, I was just thinking, this is probably a little too technical for the podcast, but it'd be kind of interesting. You know how in old cartoons, like if you watch a Tom and Jerry or something like that, and you just look at what's on the screen, all of it is static and it's kind of baked into the background, but the stuff that moves is obviously another layer on top. Mm-hmm. The nodes that exist on screen are are full on important. All the information's here. Collision detection is on node. But in the case of Square, if something exists outside of my, let's say, actionable range, all of that stuff can be squished into one visual node, and we don't need collision detection. We don't need whatever. Everything can basically just have a visual thing in one big block. Shoved in is one. Anyway, I'm just thinking of ways we can optimize stuff. It's like the me on Sunday after 2 Mai Tais way of thinking, you know? So.
Yeah, I think the problem that you'd run into with that is because Square is multiplayer, you would need basically like almost all the nodes still would need to be collidable because unless you like calculated the like windows that each node could get to in the next tick, basically.
Yeah, like the action zones for each of the four. But then that would be expensive to calculate, and then at some point it's just like, why are we even doing this? Because it worked just fine with it. Anyway.
Yeah, I think ultimately it does come down to like we need to make some updates to the updating.
Yeah.
We make some updates to the updating stuff that happens, but I just wanted to kind of like talk that out because last time we were talking about it and it seemed like it would be a good approach, or at least a functional approach. I think it was ultimately.
Cool.
Nice.
Yeah. Well, good. I have a bunch of home game shit to talk about. It's a lot. Well, not too much. Hopefully, it's not overwhelming. But I have some cool stuff. But one thing I wanted to talk about. Okay. I'm going to lead into talking about monetization in home games.
All right.
I want to make it clear to people on. Oh, fuck! That's so embarrassing, dude. when the fire detector beeps while I'm doing the thing. Oh my God, it's done it maybe once every 3 weeks over the past 2 months. And fuck. Anyway, hopefully it doesn't do it again because I need to. Anyway, so I'm going to talk about monetization in home games. For people listening, people watching, whatever, I want to make it clear. Home games is not a crypto project. It's never been a crypto project. It's never going to be a crypto project. I'm not doing that shit.
Yes, thank you.
I am curious about the technology of cryptocurrency, but I'm not making this a cryptocurrency project. I'm not baking that shit into the fundamentals of what it is.
Okay.
With that said, I'm super interested in the technology.
Mm.
And yeah, I'm going to start with the home games thing. So I am going to talk about home games really quick. So one of the biggest things that I've been thinking of is it's obviously a cool thing to have people who are so passionate to want to make games, to just kind of make them for free, put them out for free, do the work and whatever for free. I also understand, just like I was saying before, I understand capitalism and I understand that people like getting compensated for their work and their time. And whatever. So my thing from the beginning, and I said this years ago, is I wanted to have kind of like a donate button. I wanted people to be able to support the developers of the games that they like, but there would be no microtransactions. There was no incentive to pay. It's just the ability to pay because you like somebody's stuff, whatever, right?
Yeah.
And I was thinking, in order for us to make money, these would be like a configurable slider. So if someone wanted to say give $5 to the person making a game, it would be a minimum of 10% on home games and the developer. So the default split would be like 10% home games, 90% developer, right? We get 50 cents of your $5 or whatever after the processing fees. And so you couldn't make either of them less than 10. If you wanted to, you can give us 90% of the donation for whatever unhinged reason you want to, right? But
it's secretly us. We're donating to ourselves.
We're just laundering money through home games. Yeah, so anyway, I was just thinking, I understand this is an important thing, and I think in the long run for this thing to make sense, we would need to have some sort of way for people to monetize this. And so my early thinking of, like I said, was just a link. Click a link and go to my PayPal or whatever. But then it's like, well, how do we do a split between us in this programmatic way? And then what's stopping someone from just doing another link to kind of work around our system to pay them directly and all this kind of shit. So the other kind of more technical and real problem is that I don't want to support links in home games. The idea of supporting a hyperlink I don't like because, one, we can't assume every home games client has a web browser. And the other thing is maybe like for safety things, if you put a link over something and someone clicks something and it takes them to fucking UJIS or whatever.
Like pop-ups effectively, yeah.
Yeah, and I don't want hyperlinks just because it's home games is not a web browser. Home games is a canvas. It's a rendering space. It's not a web browser, even though you play it in a web browser.
Yeah.
So links are not the thing, and I don't want to support them. I'm never going to support them. I never want to, whatever. So then how do we have linking for people to get money? And I was thinking, well, the way that you do it with a crypto wallet is a QR code. I have an Ethereum wallet or Bitcoin wallet. I just have a QR code. I can show it to you on your thing. Your phone gets the wallet address from it and you can send it. It's just it's a link. So I realized if we wanted to do links, we would need to do QR codes because you need to be pretty intentional about looking at a QR code. You need a specific thing and whatever. So anyway, my thinking was when you click onto a game, it says made by Yazeed. You click on Yazeed, and then it's Yazeed's Bitcoin address, his Ethereum address, his whatever. Like you could have a couple QR codes that link to something. Maybe it's your personal website. Maybe you don't give a fuck about crypto. Maybe whatever. But I don't want to build a payment system, so I'm just going to show you a QR code to give someone Bitcoin. And I realized that's the whole point of cryptocurrency. So, like.
It is, but Venmo supports QR codes too.
That's
so
fine,
if
yeah.
people don't want to use crypto, like I don't, but you can use Venmo, you can use PayPal. I think also supports crypto, or not crypto. Jesus, QR codes. So I think that that would go a long way.
That's a good point. Yeah, and then we could do that too. It's just my thinking of we need QR codes for the thing, but we can't have links, and so sure it could be Venmo, sure it could be whatever, but just for payment systems, and then thinking we should support people. However, if you want to get fucking Monero or whatever you want from somebody.
I don't know what that is, but okay.
Monero is like the hot shit people are buying drugs with online.
Okay.
You know how like 7 years ago it was Bitcoin? And then that was before people realized that you could see every fucking Bitcoin transaction ever. So you buying a little bit of shrooms with your Coinbase account got you fucked. Anyway, Monero is the new thing.
I didn't know that.
It's like the new big like privacy focused cryptocurrency, whatever. But my point is that we should support that, and we can maybe say that you have a total of 3 maximum QR codes you can display on your developer profile, and people can kind of opt in to buy or support you through that or whatever. all that's to say, I want to support people who are into cryptocurrencies. I myself am not making this project a crypto project, despite what I think about cryptocurrency. Whatever. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so Synovia and I went to Portland. And
oh wait, I want to bet. Well, before you go into this, I'll
yeah.
backtrack. I do think that supporting the QR codes would be a good call because other things also use it. So if people don't want to use it, it's a good way to like, hey, you want to give us money? But then, do we need to have like wallets and stuff set and like a Venmo for home games if people want to just donate to us directly?
Oh, I'm not building any of this anytime soon. The second that we start taking money, we need a business behind all this. And so I'm just thinking about the future and whatever. This is a post-launch thing that we would do, which is something else I'm going to talk about later. But yeah, no, at a certain point, yeah, we would need to do, and if we wanted to do the revenue split of I get 10%, we would need like a fucking smart contract on Ethereum or some shit. I don't know, dude. I'm still learning about everything. But we would need to do work to make the stuff work the way I want it to, I think. I'm just kind of throwing it out there that I think that's important one day, you know?
So no money laundering tomorrow is what
No.
Damn.
I'm not building the money laundering service quite yet.
Fine.
Yeah. Okay. So Synovia and I, are you familiar with SZA?
The rap lady?
She's a singer, yeah.
Yeah, I know SZA.
Are you serious?
I mean, I don't know her personally. I know I've heard of SZA.
I'm just shocked because Synovia showed me SZA in 2017, and I thought she was a niche, small artist, and I guess maybe at the time she was smaller, but the fact that everybody knows her and she's so fucking popular blows my mind. I thought she was not that. Anyway.
I don't know any songs. Like, if you were like, what's a song that SZA sings? I wouldn't know, but I've heard of SZA.
Yeah. Well, she sold out a stadium in Portland.
Whoa.
She sold out her like whole arena tour in like a day.
Oh my gosh.
Or something crazy like that. So anyway, Synovia is a big fan. We've seen SZA before. So we went to go see her for this tour in Portland, and it was a lot of fun. We had conveyor belt sushi, and Portland is very cool and all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. After that, we went to Seattle just for a few days, just to kind of have a mini vacation or whatever, except it wasn't a vacation. I was working the whole time. But still, we went to Seattle. And in Seattle, there is a museum that we drove by on the way to dinner one night called the Seattle NFT Museum. And so my initial reaction was just to laugh, right?
Yeah.
Just to laugh because the way I see it, when I see any business in Seattle or in any major city like that, I think, your rent must be stupid. Like, you're so fucked. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you sell dumplings here? Fucking idiot. You know what I mean? Like, I never understand how people could pay those rents or whatever. And I think about it a lot. So I was just thinking, okay, well, in 2023, every single cryptocurrency, every NFT is much lower now in valuation than it was 2021, 2022 when this museum was started. But I was still curious about it. So anyway, Synovia and I got tickets for one day, so we went. So I want to ask you, Yazeed, what do you think an NFT museum is?
I think it's probably similar to like other museums where they'll be like, here's a piece from this time period that we're going to teach you about a little bit. And then it's like, here's a little bit about it. Like, here's what was going on at the time. Like, here's a Renaissance painting. During the Renaissance, they're relearning, like, older styles of painting. And then, like, next section is like, here's the medieval ages where everything was flat suddenly and there were snails everywhere. But anyway.
So you say things happening at the time. Are you talking about the real world? And like relating, like going back to the people in the world at the time, or the things happening in that space?
I think a little bit of both. In my head, the most recent museum I went to was in Singapore, and it was like the Singapore National Museum. Mm-hmm. And so it'd be like, here's like a diorama of what Singapore used to look like, and like here's what was going on around the world at the time, and like here's what was going on in Singapore at the time, and like basically like the whole trip is like a journey from like not even people living where Singapore is now to like when it was founded and was called like Singapura, and then like as it grew into like what it became basically, and like all the route along the way, like when it was a British colony and like all that, the stuff that happened with that. But yeah, That's what I'm imagining in my head, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, for this thing, there was not really a whole lot of. There were pieces, there were NFTs on display, but they didn't really talk so much about the world around them or the crypto space around them. They kind of talked about them in a vacuum about what this piece means to the artist or whatever. So, okay, I'm gonna give you. Okay, I am a bit of a chameleon when it comes to friend circles, right? So, like, if someone tells me they're super anti NFT, I can talk to them in such a way, and I can describe this in such a way that'll make them think I'm on their side. If someone is pro NFT, I can also give the same description. I truly, genuinely believe both, so I'm going to give them both.
Okay.
I'm going to give the negative first.
Okay.
It's a bunch of TVs on walls showing shitty, low resolution, low frame rate GIFs generated by algorithms, and it feels very lazy.
Okay.
The worst description I can give, right?
Well, before you move on, I do have a follow-on question. Was it like when you said they didn't talk about like what was going on in the world around them? What was there like a plaque next to it or like another TV next to it where it's like the artist says this about this piece?
There was, yeah. So it was really big, like nice, high quality, high definition TVs displaying art in either horizontal or landscape, depending on what the
hot
thing
dog
was.
or hamburger. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Portrait or landscape, whatever the hell. And then on the side was a little thing of paper, physical paper on it that said the artist's name, the name of the piece, and a description. So it'll be, a lot of it, like I said, was algorithmically generated, like a lot of NFTs are. So it'll be some sort of like a geometric pattern that kind of has a little fun twist to it, or some sort of cool colors or something like that. I'm not saying it's inherently bad or lazy or whatever. It's just algorithmically generated shape art created in like a GIF or some sort of animated format, and then stretched out on a big ass TV, and you're a foot from it, so you do see pixels and shit. Like it wasn't the best way to soak it in, maybe.
Yeah.
And for me personally, I've never been much of an art guy. I'm not the guy. I'm not the one to say that art is good or bad. I look at it for what it is, and I'm not super into it. Right. Maybe there's a history to it or the technology or whatever that might be cool, whatever, but I'm trying to get it. And anyway, so that's what they had on the wall for the most part. It was TVs showing NFTs, nothing that you've seen before or whatever. Oh, and the big thing too that was cool is that on the paper there's a QR code. You scan it, it shows you that NFT on a marketplace. So like there were some Ethereum NFTs, so it would show you the NFT on like Etherscan or whatever the hell it was. Like, and there was another one on a different blockchain, so you scan that one, it shows you a different marketplace and all the transaction history. And that's the cool thing, is you can see if this thing has ever been sold, who owns it, what it was sold for, people who have any open bids on it right now, and it's all just there. You can see the history. You could, if you wanted to, you can make an offer on it. I don't know how that works. If you buy something, does the NFT or does the museum have to remove it from the museum? Like, how does this work? Because I'm guessing they license it, because it said it was all provided courtesy of the artist. So I'm assuming the artists give them rights to display in the museum. Anyway, interesting stuff, right? Like, even if you don't like what it is, or I don't like what they're showing, the thing is, I've never seen anything like it. And my favorite part of it that was super, super cool, I'm not sure how aware you are of like staking or validation and all that kind of stuff, but basically the way it used to work for Bitcoin and Ethereum is you do mining, right? So you would have like a crazy 3 GPU and SLI setup and a computer that was just generating a bunch of heat, trying to basically just competing to solve these hashing problems or whatever. And when you did, you would be rewarded with a little bit of cryptocurrency, and that was called mining. And it was very expensive. It used a lot of energy and all that kind of stuff. Eventually, Ethereum swapped over, and some other stuff like Solana uses another form of whatever this process is called validating. So instead of proof of work, which is the old way of doing it, which was computationally expensive, it's now proof of stake, which is much less computationally expensive. It just requires, it's just something different. Again, I don't know shit about cryptocurrency. I just know what I know, and I know a very little bit. But at a high level view, it used to take a lot more power than it takes now. And what I really thought was cool, so in addition to like a wall of the history, 2013, 2014, this standard introduced this thing, the first Punks NFT, the first Bitcoin, the first whatever, it has a whole timeline of that shit. But then on another part of the wall, it has a traditional mining rig with a 4 GPU SLI setup. You could feel the heat coming off of it.
Sheesh.
And then next to it on the wall is a Solana or a modern validator. And they're both running. You can see them running on the monitor doing their thing. And it's a Raspberry Pi. And so you get the visual difference and you feel it and you hear the difference between the big fucking thing and the Pi. So, as someone who I don't see where it's going and I don't see what it's used for and I don't see a lot of it, it was a cool museum. And I really respect that they did it. The guy running it seemed genuinely interested, or he seemed into what they were doing, right? He was just a guy running the museum. And
yeah.
I don't know. The fact that someone somewhere thought that they would invest real money into putting that stuff and that information in such a consumable way to real regular people in a touristy part of Seattle right next to Pike Place Market, I admire that. I hope that it pays off. Even if the market and the whatever and all the public perception is that you're a fucking clown, I really hope that at some point that thing finds where it's going, because I think it's cool.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think I'm more opposed to crypto stuff, but I do think it's cool and probably kind of smart to have a museum dedicated to it, because it's been such a impactful thing.
Yeah.
Especially over the last 3-4 years, probably, crypto's explosion in popularity and NFTs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. The world moves so quickly that I feel we don't normally take time to be somebody write that down. You know what I mean? I feel that was a moment where somebody was we should probably write this down. I think that's cool.
For sure. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, honestly, I was surprised it was still open. I bought a hoodie. I bought a hat because I wanted to support them. It was
that's cool.
This was my one disappointment. So, my understanding of NFTs is that the value comes from, one of the things of value is that you could potentially kind of hook this digital asset that you own and we know that you own and tie that into a real world, real life thing, like something as simple as an NFT restaurant. You can come to my restaurant if you hold this NFT. This NFT is a ticket, right? You come into it. That's lame as fuck, but it's an idea and it technically it's a use case, whatever, right? So when I saw that they were selling hoodies, I was thinking, and Brandon, our friend, was asking me too, does it have a tag on it? Is there an NFT associated with the hoodie and then you own the NFT as a result? No, this is just screen printed on Hanes. There's no, but I was looking for that connection, that thing of you've been to our museum. Here's this token that can be represent. And this is where it gets fuzzy, right? Why do I give a fuck? But I feel like I should because it's something new.
Yeah, honestly, that would be pretty sick though, because think about it this way, right? If you go to, let's say, the Smithsonian Museum, right?
Yeah.
Huge, massively popular museum, has a bunch of interesting and stuff. Some of it dubiously found, whatever. Right? You have no real proof that you went there. If you took some pictures, cool, but we're at the point where deep fakes can fake all that stuff. If you got an NFT from the NFT museum though, you could be I went here, and then they could do a promo where it's I don't know, $1 off or something if you've been here before. And if you show them that you hold one of their NFTs, that's a way of saying that, yeah, I was here before. And I think that is cool. The idea of proof that I was somewhere, I think is, or proof that I did something is cool, just because it's I could say I've been to the Smithsonian. I've never been to the Smithsonian.
Yeah.
But if I read enough about the Smithsonian, I could make it sound like I did. But if you have an NFT that you could only get from being at the Smithsonian, that'd be kind of cool.
But see, this is where the problem comes in, because that is a ticket. If I went to the Smithsonian 30 years ago, and they gave me a ticket, and I put it in a scrapbook, I was there. Check out my ticket.
Yeah.
The whole argument against the technology is well, why the fuck do you need this?
Well, and that's, I don't get tickets.
What?
I don't keep tickets.
Oh yeah, sure. For the digital,
it's easier.
For someone who doesn't keep things, yes. I don't know. It's kind of why does this need to exist? And I totally understand that side of it. I'm so interested in it.
Yeah, I mean, it is an interesting thing. Like from a technological standpoint, it is really cool.
Yeah. I don't know, man.
But I don't know either. I am glad that they switched off of the one that was generating insane amount of heat and was driving GPU prices through the ceiling. Golly.
I think Bitcoin still uses proof of work.
I thought they switched too.
Maybe they did. I don't know.
I'm fairly certain they switched because it was like a big deal when they did the switch, and it was like right up until the last second people were still mining. But and that was like part of why GPU prices kind of tumbled.
I thought that was Ethereum that was happening for.
I think it happened for Ethereum. I might be wrong about this. Literally everything I know about crypto is I read a newspaper article while I was doing something else.
Reading about cryptocurrency in a newspaper is fucking hilarious, dude. Yeah. Like a piece of paper with the news on it.
I'm not sitting on the toilet with the old newspaper in my corn cob pipe, and when my kid says something mean, I put the newspaper in. I'm like reading on my phone. Just reading it and just like swiping through whatever stories seem interesting.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know.
Crypto prices are dropping. Sell.
Yeah. And that's the thing too is, yeah, like I have NFTs. I still don't know what the fuck I'm doing with them, all that kind of stuff. So Anyway, I'll put up my favorite NFT on the green screen right now.
Is it your shrimp?
Oh yeah, my shrimp is good, so that's probably on there now. Editing me is watching this and putting that on there right now. But then I'm gonna put up my cow.
I don't even know your cow.
I've got 2 cows. Or no, I've got three cows and a barn.
You have 3 cows and a barn? This man's rich. This man's rich. If ever I go and get married to somebody and their family's like, you need to provide us with a cow, I'll be like, my boy's got it.
I got 3, dude.
Got 3 and a barn. They'll be like, what? 3 and a barn? Like, yeah, you have all 3 of them. I don't know if that is a joke from 90 Day Fiance.
What? I don't know.
One of the guys when he was getting married, the lady's family was like, you need to buy us I think it was a goat. And he was like, at the time, he was like, I don't have money for a goat. So he found his best friend, he was like at the wedding. And he was like, I need you to buy me a goat. And the friend was like, what do you need a goat for? And he was like, I have to give it to the family. And then the guy was like, okay. And so he spots him the money to buy a goat. And after I found that out, I came here and I was like, Joseph, if I was going to get married to someone that you need to buy a goat and I didn't have money for a goat, would you spot me the money for a goat? And you were like, yeah, I would.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, yeah, buddy, let's go.
Of course, dude. If a goat was the only thing standing between you and happiness.
A goat is the only thing standing between me and happiness.
I'd contribute to the goat fund for you for sure.
Thank you.
Okay, so back to home game stuff. I guess that's like the rest of what we have for the episode. But there'll be fun tangents,
I'm sure.
in between.
I'm sure.
So I'm sorry to do this to you, Yazeed.
That's fine.
I'm truly sorry. But I realize it's almost fucking April. And time keeps blasting by. And I wanted to get this shit done in June.
Yeah.
We can get this shit done in June. I was working on this weekend and last weekend and whatever, the past month or so. And I'm happy with it. It's really getting places. But we have to cut things aggressively.
Okay.
So that testing framework that I wanted to build, fuck that. It's gone.
All right.
I'm looking at this thing over there. A couple video support. I wanted to add video support. Fuck that. Gone. Spectators, I added that. Performance metrics, I wanted to redo that and kind of make that all better. Nope, not doing that. Local search for HTTPS. That would be really nice to get it in, and I still want to. But with our public games, our local whatever working games, like you have a working version of it without that, but it would be nice to get in. So it's not quite fucked yet, but it's really at the bottom. And then controller support we added, font support we added. Yeah, so we got a lot of this stuff, but the last thing here that we do need to cut is TypeScript again.
That's fine. That's fine. Listen, brother. I won the war. And that's the important piece, is that you agreed to pay reparations and that we would indeed be switching to TypeScript. So whether you pay them now or later, I won this one.
Yeah, okay, yeah, you're right. We will eventually switch over to it. It's just, at this point, going and redoing everything so close to done.
Yeah.
And the added benefit is that people who write the code can write more code better. Doesn't seem like the thing to put the time into
In
right
V1.
now.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It makes sense to get interest, and then people are like, wow, fucking vanilla JS, what are you, an idiot? And then we do TypeScript. But when people ask us, that's when it will make sense or whatever.
Yeah.
So, okay, that was the killing everything we don't need bullet point. I have to be aggressive.
Let me ask you this question.
Yeah.
Is there something I can do that would help?
With getting stuff released?
Yeah. That has been an ongoing problem where I don't actually know what you are going to work on until we're at the or if you text me.
Let me tell you the way. Okay. I'm going to high level describe all these bullet points in a couple sentences, hopefully.
All right.
And we will talk about it. I have worked on some bug reporting features, some stability enhancements. I've worked on sustainability and scalability for our backend APIs and our infrastructure. And just testing. Mm. So what I would benefit from is as much as possible end-to-end testing. Mm-hmm. If I get this version of the home games server and I get this version of the home games client running this version of Squish and I give it this game, what happens? Mm-hmm. If I update support for this game to update to a new version of Squish, that Squish isn't available, or like some fucking weird, something like weird.
Edge case checking.
Yeah, just make sure that these pieces, when you fit them together, right? Like in a perfect world, an interface is all you need between two pieces of software. This component, we don't need to know dick about each other. But this thing that we talk about, this promise that we have, is solid. Mm-hmm. So making sure that these promises throughout the system are solid is my main thing.
Okay.
I'm going to be working on, like I said, stability and all that kind of stuff, finishing up this infrastructure stuff. And then I'm making Organ Trail. That's my thing. I want to give it like 2 months because I have like everything's working. Everything is fine. Everything is pretty stable. There's bugs and there's shittiness and there's stuff that we can fix. But we need like a Halo.
Yeah.
We need a killer app or whatever, as they say.
Yeah.
And I love Organ Trail so fucking much from being a kid and playing whatever. I'm going to make a multiplayer Organ Trail. So you know how it's like funny when I name my squad after my friends and then they all die of cholera?
Yeah.
But now we're all playing. It just seems like it makes a lot of sense. Die
of cholera, but in real life.
Yeah, but like yeah, they can't. We're still working on that part. So it'll just be, relatively simple and straightforward, but it'll be a fully fleshed out game and something that will be fun and like easily demonstrate what this whole thing is. And so just testing would be nice. Mm-hmm. Manual testing, even if you don't want to write automated tests, like, hey, I clicked around the dashboard and if I go down 3 times and up twice, it stops working, which is like a real bug I've had. Mm-hmm. So anything like that, and then just make GitHub issues. Mm-hmm. But yeah, no. And it's not like I'm overwhelmed. It's just that time goes so fucking fast, dude. Yeah. I cannot believe it's already almost April. So yeah. Anyway, did you have stuff before I kind of go more in depth bullet point by bullet point?
No, that makes sense. I did have one question. How do you feel, or how would you feel about something like I don't know if you've worked with Cypress before.
I've used Cypress. I don't know dick about Cypress.
Okay. Cypress is like a way to automate end-to-end testing. Basically, it like creates your what's it called? Not a smoke screen. A smoke test. There we go. Where you can just like run. What is that? It's like just like a set of tests like you run in it like before a release or something like that, just to be like, okay, if these things work, then we're probably okay, or at least the core of this application works still, like on the happy paths.
Or like sanity tests before they fucking made it all libs. You can't say sanity tests anymore, dude.
I've never heard it called a sanity test.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I've only ever heard it called a smoke test.
Okay.
Because the idea is like you basically like you write the Cypress test to run along the like most like the path that you expect people to take, and as long as everything works, then the Cypress test will pass.
Okay.
How would you feel about maybe trying something like that? Or do you think that it's like a little bit tough to like get that to fit in? Because I don't know how it's like Cypress generally is for testing like web apps that have like HTML elements,
Yeah.
and this is just a canvas. So I don't know how well the testing goes, but I think we could probably figure it out.
You can probably yank the canvas. I also built a tool a while back that will turn any home game's canvas to an SVG, so we can like parse the SVG data.
Do like image comparators.
Yeah.
Oh, that would be sick.
Well, we're not even comparing images because SVGs are just vector data, so you're just going through and comparing each line and stuff. And but yeah, so we can do something like that. But I would love a solid test, like yeah. At my real job, we have a collection of tests called the big boy tests, where basically if we pass all 3 of them, it takes like 10 fucking minutes to pass them. But if you do, you're pretty solid overall.
Yeah.
We just need that. Even if 10% of the system is broken, absolutely fucked, but we can consistently count that 90% that works, like that would be so helpful.
Yeah. Okay. I'll spend time doing that then. I want you to know coming out the gate, I fucking hate writing Cypress tests, but I will do it so that I can say that I was actually useful to you for once.
You have been useful. It's like on me because I don't make it clear what I want because I don't want anything. Because my whole thing is I'm just so happy that you show up to do the podcast with me. That like to me that's the work. Like asking you to do anything else is fucking insane. So yeah, I appreciate you doing anything or working on whatever.
I will give you at least 3 Cypress tests so we can call them the big boys, the 3 boys. And I want you to know that I'm gonna be so sad writing. No, it'll be fine. I actually don't like writing them for work, but that's because I think they're stupid. But because they just take fucking forever when things go south. But it's fine. I'll do it for this. No worries.
But it's something where I can get a high level overview to have trust in the system and say that these pieces that we have in their current state work together. Yeah. And we don't have anything close to that. We don't have any of that. So
that makes sense. Yeah, I think Cypress would be a good way of testing it. And if not Cypress, I'll find a package or like a system that like helps with what we're trying to do. It may end up being like we do the SVG to SVG comparators, but I think that Cypress probably would be okay because Cypress does like click throughs. So we could actually have it like click and like move through and be like click down 3 times, click up 2 times, click this game, start a new service, another Cypress window, like click on this thing, like do all those things like step by step. And like actually like play the game a little bit. So if we had like a flat game that would like test out a lot of these like small features, we could have it do those things too, and as like an actual user clicking through. So yeah, that's just something I immediately like was like, oh, that might help with this kind of like approach.
For sure, yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yes,
helpful. Yeah, cool. Yeah, so I have a couple things before I go into really my main thing that I've really been working on. So a few weeks back, I can't believe we haven't recorded in so long. A few weeks back, or I guess 2 months back, I talked about wanting to work on bug reporting and how if something happened on the home game server that you were running, some sort of uncaught exception, we would basically just send out that error string to a server that we own that we can, see what's going on or whatever. Mm-hmm. And it would be opt-in. I wanted it to be totally optional. By default, you would not send any logs to us over the network. You don't need any network access at all to play home games, whatever. But anyway, I built a very simple service. It just basically accepts. I think I might have talked about this last episode.
You did.
Okay. Yeah. Anyway, I built it. It's still there. I had to change it around a little bit and move it to another API, which I'll talk about later. But it's still there. Basically, wrap the whole shit in a try catch.
Oh yeah.
Cool. So yeah, pretty boring. The thing that made me so fucking happy, the most rewarding and crazy shit, was signing the binaries. So I have been talking about this for years, signing the binaries. And it's always been a thing I procrastinated because I just thought like we'll do it when we're close to done. Mm-hmm. But then not doing it for so long, it's like, well, we're not even that done yet, but we're so fucking done that like, okay, we have to do it. So, anyway, so the problem for background, if you download the home games binaries, right? I generate binaries every time we have like a stable build or whatever. I'll generate a binary for Windows, Linux, and Mac using a tool called PKG. So a command line tool that takes node services and builds binaries. It includes the whole node runtime as well as your code and puts it in one big binary. And I generate them on Mac, and it works on all of the different operating systems. But if you take or not the DMG, it's just a binary from the Mac, and you put it on someone's machine that isn't me, it'll complain and it'll say, hey, this is some fucking random ass file. You are not opening this shit. And then you have to go through 2 different menus and like put in your password and shit to tell macOS that you're basically saying like, hey, I'm gonna get fucked, and I promise I know it's fine. So like, yeah, give me the virus. And it requires an immense amount of trust for someone to open that binary. You need to basically know me personally, and it doesn't scale, you know.
Yeah.
So I had been putting off trying to even figure out how we would go around this problem. Basically, what you need to do is surprise. You have to pay Apple money. You pay them like $100 a year or some shit, and you become a certified developer.
Steven Jobs at it again.
Yeah, dude, from the grave, he's still fucking us over. But so, yeah, basically you pay them money, you get this certificate or whatever, or you get this password and key, whatever. It's called the signing and notarization process. So I take my binary, I sign it with a key that only I have. I send it off to Apple, and then they verify my signature. And then they send it back with, called it stapled. There's some thing they give you back on your binary that when it's opened up on an Apple machine, it says like, oh yeah, this is good. Here's basically the credentials of the guy that made it with his Apple account and stuff like that. Basically, it's a long story, but it was a pain in the ass testing because I had to find a Mac that wasn't mine, which all my Macs are mine. So like, how do I find a fucking expensive ass laptop that someone will let me use?
You went to the Mac store, didn't you?
No, Amazon actually lets you rent out Mac OSs on EC2 or Mac OS devices on EC2.
Yeah.
So it's a little pricey for a day. I think it cost me like $20-$30. So it was kind of a lot, but I got to use it. You can VNC into it with the GUI and all that. So you just click around. It's pretty bad performance. But anyway, I got my binary working on an EC2 macOS instance, and it fucking worked. It warns that it's from an unidentified developer, which I need to do something with the process because it shouldn't be doing that. But at least it's not fully like rejecting unless you enter your password and shit.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's a start, and yeah, and that was just so rewarding, man. I built that binary, and I tried to put it on Synovia's MacBook, which is my old MacBook, and hers is running an Intel processor. Mine is running an M1, so I was just like, there's too many variables here because it kept crashing on hers. And hers is also a 9-year-old laptop, so I was just thinking, like, there's too much. I don't know what the hell's the problem, and so anyway, I ended up narrowing it down to it's her laptop. I'm not going to try to figure out what the fuck, you know. So
if you... I don't have a personal, but I have my work one.
Well, I think in the future I'll just need to use EC2. It's like super convenient.
Yeah.
So hopefully I won't have to that much. Maybe at some point I'll buy like a burner Mac, you know, like a used.
Yeah, at some point you buy, I don't know, like $21,000 worth of Mac.
No.
A burner Mac.
No, because you can find a used MacBook Air online for like $400. So if at some point if I'm renting out a Mac that often for me to need it. Also, sorry, we're recording this episode during the weekend of the Pima fucking air show or whatever.
Oh, so, is that what that is?
Yeah, dude, there's just planes and shit flying everywhere.
I thought Davis Monton was getting ready for something. I was like, God damn.
You're just doing war prep in the back.
Yeah, I was like, brother, we're gonna die, aren't we?
Yeah, no, they're just flying jets and shit out here, but it's very loud. So if you hear that in the mic, I apologize. Last episode, our audio was all fucked because of that stupid mouse. That's another thing, dude. I got rid of that's how long it's been. The last episode, my big life change was that I switched over to Linux full time. This life change is I got rid of that whole computer. I'm just using my MacBook now.
Yeah, fuck computers.
Fuck computers, dude. Honestly, I'm so over it.
Yeah, this man's burner Mac over here. God damn.
Burner Mac. That sounded like more of a flex than I wanted it to. Anyway, yeah, so we have Mac binaries signed. I still need to look into making them a little bit better, so it's not that we still don't get that warning or whatever, but you get a better warning than before. I need to do the same thing for Windows. I don't know what their process is like. And then Linux, they don't give a fuck. You know, there is no Linux company, so it's just like, yeah, you're on your own, bud.
Remind me to send you a video that I watched called like how to get into the Linux community. I watched. It was so funny.
Okay.
I'll send it to you.
Yeah, I'm always afraid of people who are super into Linux. When I was just running Pop OS on that thing for about 2-3 weeks, I was, I like it, whatever. But yeah, I'm not a Linux guy. I'm a Mac guy. It's a slight distinction, but it is a distinction.
You like the Unix part of it, but you don't like I don't know, that's tough. It's your problem, though.
Yes. Yeah, I like the smooth interface. I just want a smooth interface with a command line. That's all I need.
Yeah.
That's Mac, so yeah. Anyway, signed binary is very exciting.
It's super exciting. Congratulations, buddy.
Yeah, thanks. I was interested, too, because seeing how Apple does it, it's basically like Home Dome. So you send it a binary and it pokes it to make sure it's not anything weird, and you send it off in a queue. And so it's just a tool that basically sends it off to a queue and then waits for a response, and it has a status, and it could take hours.
We're not as stupid as we think sometimes. That's all I'm going to say. Sometimes we're actually like kind of with it. You know what I mean?
It's a very cool feeling. It's like it's kind of like what we did with the rendering and stuff, where you do what you think it needs to do, and you kind of work backwards.
Yeah.
From the user perspective or whatever.
Yeah.
So I thought that was pretty cool. Damn, they're really flying those fucking things today, huh?
Yeah, it's funny is that looking at the thing, it doesn't look like it's picking it up that much.
That's the other thing. We're using GarageBand now, and I think the built-in settings it has on the software, like it'll block out a lot of the extra noise the other stuff would pick up. We were using Audacity before, so I'm fully in the Mac life now, dude.
We're in it.
Yeah.
We're in black turtlenecks and New Balance and jeans. The next time I see him,
that would be a fit for you, dude.
For me,
for you, yeah.
I no shot. I got too long of a neck to be wearing a black turtleneck.
That's the flex, though. You're just like, yeah, I see my fucking neck. I'm gonna like really accentuate it.
I want you to know what's going on down here. No.
Takes me 9 seconds to swallow, dude.
God damn. Oh no.
Out of context, that might be a little odd.
That's my new ringtone, actually. Every time you send me a text message, it takes me 9 seconds to swallow, dude.
Well, now that we're past the obvious highlight of the show, let's talk about my mono service that I've been building. So basically, I should have taken my own advice. What I've said before, this is my last bullet point, so I'm gonna close this out. What I've said before is that I hate the idea of best practices because I hate the blind following of someone else's idea without thinking of why they had the idea. Mm-hmm. So if we say it's an industry best practice to store password hashes instead of plain text passwords. That one is easy to understand, and we understand that it's an industry best practice because getting someone's password is obviously bad. Mm-hmm. But the best practice I'm talking about was microservices. So I used to work at a company that was very heavily dependent, and I think in some way they helped pioneer the microservices trend, and it was so ingrained in the design process and the way that you talk about anything. It's like obviously it would be another service. You're right. I don't think it's picking up the planes.
I just my mic a little bit.
Okay.
See.
It'll probably be in there a little bit. Anyway, sounds of Tucson. So basically, I had this experience with microservices, and it was just in my brain. That's the way that you do things. So when I was starting with the home games backend stuff, I was thinking, well, obviously, like game and asset data is different from authentication, and that's different from game publishing, and that's different from other aspects of the data and the service and the system. So those should all be independent services. And I can build them independently. They'll talk to each other, and they will have their own responsibilities, which is the point of a microservice. Mm-hmm. You have a thing that does something specific. Mm-hmm. But the reason this was a best practice, and the reason that I never really thought about this, and the reason it was a best practice is because when you are a opera or an organization at that scale, where you have thousands of people who write code, you need to break things up in such a way where your organization and the little mini organizations within can have like autonomy. Mm-hmm. So you can say, here is the high level goal of the business. That trickles down to their managers, and then they say, well, here's what this component of the system needs to do, this system. And because it's just so large in the nature of the company, no person works on multiple systems. It just doesn't work like that. You're the owner of this system, and your team works on this system, and you guys are responsible for this system. And so, like I said, it makes sense for an operation or an organization like that. For an organization like this, where all these services are made by me, it just creates a burden, a mental burden of where does that code live? How does that service do it differently? Oh, right, this one has a different framework or different request handling structure than the other stuff. Why? It's inconsistencies and stuff like that, when at the end of the day, they're just accepting HTTP requests and turning responses. Mm-hmm. So this just needs to be, instead of landlord.homegames, bugs.homegames, things.homegames, this is just api.homegames.io /endpoint. Then we have the assets, the games, or whatever, which means that I can have one service that I scale by itself. And another thing too, in a complex system, let's say you're talking about, I don't know, let's say Amazon Alexa. Let's say that that's the system that you're talking about. Mm-hmm. When you say something, it can go through a different route through all of your complex systems. You could either be doing a timer, which is talking to this, or you could be, calling an Uber, which is over here. Mm-hmm. And each of those paths have a whole different set of responsibilities and subcomponents to them, and there are different people responsible for those subcomponents. It's a lot. I don't need any of that shit. Mm-hmm. I don't need microservices. It's too much infrastructure. Yeah. It runs my bill up. It runs it, and it also adds latency. Every single time a microservice talks to a microservice, as long as you're talking about the internet and they don't exist in some whatever, it's a network hop. Like it's slower. So I got burned by my own shit. I should just listen to myself. Fuck a best practice. If I can't explain why I'm doing something, I should not be doing it at all.
Yeah, I will say what's interesting is that I think a lot of companies are moving away from the microservice architecture where they can, because it is expensive and it's also not super great for most things. It's like good under like very specific circumstances, I feel like.
Yeah. And like, they definitely have a space and they have a use, and that's what I'm saying. You just have to recognize when they have a need, and it's in, most of the time, a big complex organization. Yeah. If you're in ass bust mode working on a whole system, you don't need a microservice. Yeah. And that's like that is my biggest mistake I've made. Total 100% designing this thing, building this thing, those fucking microservices. I could have bought a used Accord with my AWS bills, dude.
Oh my god. In this economy?
Okay, maybe not this Accord. Like a 03 Accord. We're like 250,000 miles. Those things, they hold their value,
Dude, it's still, brother, my car right now is more expensive than when I bought it. Like, my used car is more expensive than when I bought it.
Oh yeah, that's true. I looked up I have a Corolla. My car was more valuable.
You can buy I don't know how much it was, but if that's true that you can afford a used car, that's so much money.
Maybe not an Accord. Maybe, okay, I could have bought
a used Humvee.
No. Okay, I could have bought like a used Prius.
Okay.
Yeah, like a really used Prius with like a battery that's like almost done,
Seen some really
like a 09 Prius.
Off-roading with this Prius stuff.
Yeah, I could have bought it. Yeah. So I'll see what my AWS bill is and stuff next time. But basically, I'm swapping over. Another thing, just like simple rookie mistakes where, for example, I had a service and a proper backend for our website, because our website had some APIs that it used initially where, like, instead of talking to landlord directly, it was calling its own backend, and then the backend was calling landlord. So then I removed all of those landlord calls, but then I still had the contact form. So it was basically one API running on that service, and that had a whole backend with an ECS task for it. Like, So fucking stupid. I was basically like burning money for a contact form.
Goddamn.
You know, so like, anyway, that's a static website now, and then it's just calling API/contact. So that'll cut that bill so much. Anyway, I'm saving like a fuckload of money with the new stuff I made.
Nice.
So yeah, I have API.homegames.io standing up. I swapped over the website to use S3 Amazon S3 website hosting, so that's a lot easier. Builds. So like I said, I published that build that was signed for macOS, and I just dropped it into S3, and then you can basically access it directly from the website. You go to builds.homegames.io/latest, and then on my side, I'm just dropping a binary into latest. So you're just downloading that, and then ideally you would also be able to go to /commit hash, and that would just drop everything into the commit hash as well. So super easy for me to manage, a lot cheaper and a lot more sustainable for me personally. Easier to manage and write the code for it, easier to understand the system overall, easier to deploy and manage the infrastructure. Everything is easier because we never needed microservices.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah, and that's pretty much it for me for home game stuff. Obviously, there's probably a lot of stuff I'm forgetting just because it's been so long. It's been so long since the last one. But realistically, we've got next month, and then May, June, and that's it. So 2-3 more episodes until we hit the button on this thing. And yeah, like I said, I'm so fucking close to it because I know where it is, and whatever. It's been almost 5 years, and I'm so close.
This man's been edging for years.
So fucking close, dude. Yeah. So
Gonna be the title of this episode.
yeah, I'm not sure what I'm gonna title this one yet, but yeah, I don't know. Do you have anything else before we wrap it up?
No, I mean I'm excited. I'm glad.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Me too. Yeah, we'll have some shit. I'm excited about this episode of the podcast. I'm excited for this green screen thing. And then testing and just writing up shit and making everything better. And then yeah, the API will be at a place like now that it's all one service, I can put that in one ECS task that can it's basically one thing I pay good money for, and it scales and all that kind of stuff independently of, or not independently, it scales automatically. So if one day we get 100,000 people clicking our website won't crash, hopefully.
Yeah.
So yeah, and it's all just about basically laying the foundation for people to go to the website when we say it's ready, which will be in a couple months. Let's go indeed. Cool. Well, in that case, I will see if I can remember. Thank you, everybody, for listening. As always, our music was done by our friend Tynan. He is Nytan on Bandcamp. That is Nytan, Nytan. You can find us on Twitter at homegames.io. We have a website, homegames.io. You can ask ChatGPT about us. Yeah. That's about it. We'll see you in a few weeks. Thank you for listening.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.